Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Upskill podcast. I thank you very much for tuning in to this new guest interview special edition with no less than Huy Nguyen, who is the co-founder of KardiaChain. I am super excited. I am pumped, actually, to be sitting next to this gentleman with an amazing background in software development. He's a software engineer background in Google and Cisco systems. So Huy can definitely tell us a lot about the KardiaChain project that he's a co-founder of, and all the interesting things and exciting things that you can learn in terms of blockchain solutions for mass adoption. So thank you very much again for tuning in, and I'm going to go straight to Huy Nguyen over here and ask him if he could talk about KardiaChain and tell us some of the missions and the values of KardiaChain. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dave. It's an honor to talk to you and the podcast over here. So indeed, I'm here today for the TechFest event in Hanoi 2020. And KardiaChain will be here to present our missions and our dream to bring the mass adoption to the world, starting in Vietnam. This is our homeland. So a little bit about myself. Before founding KardiaChain, I have more than 10 years of experience in the Silicon Valley, especially in Google, building the decentralizing system and network infrastructures. It is at Google that I first learned about blockchain and its enormous opportunity to bring to the world. So I came back to Vietnam and found the KardiaChain with Chi, who was an entrepreneur in London at that time. So at KardiaChain, we believe that in 5 or 10 years, blockchain technologies will be indispensable to all the businesses and industry, similar to the way AI, machine learning, or cloud computing does to the world today, right? But more than that, KardiaChain believes that we should bring the equality to the public, to the mass adoptions. Everybody should have an equal opportunity to use the blockchain technologies in the world, right? However, you know that bringing mass adoption is a tough mission in general. One of the biggest challenges is people need to be able to enjoy the convenience seamlessly without knowing too much about what's going on under the scenes, right? Blockchain is complicated, same as AI. So for example, today people can do Google search, they can do Google Photos, Gmails, without knowing about all of the complicated things behind the scenes, right? So our slogan, our mission is accessible blockchain for the millions. Right. And the way we're gonna try to approach it is by blockchainize the existing business, right? We need to work with the government, we need to work with traditional business and try to have them build a blockchain infrastructure that the application can run on top, right, and people can still enjoy everything they enjoy today, right, just with a very different technologies.
Exactly.
Right?
That's very interesting.
Right. Yeah. So that is actually our missions, and that is how we're gonna try to do that.
I think it's super exciting. I know you've been busy for a number of years already with your co-founders, right, building KardiaChain, and there's so many interesting things that you mentioned. I think a good starting place would be in terms of centralization of technology versus decentralization of technology. I'm sure a lot of people who are listening have some interest in software engineering. So how is decentralization, how is that a big advantage, considering the mass adoption of blockchain, in your opinion?
So I'll try to answer this question a different way. So I just try to think about the human evolutions. Originally, people have individual trust, right? So you believe in somebody else. So you give your money to somebody else. You trust somebody else's word, right?
Like
but that's
bank, for example.
no, that is just between me and you. Like long times ago, there was no centralized sort of government, right? So it's just between the individuals. You have the individual trust.
Right.
Then moving to the next step, when the society gets bigger, then you have the institutional trust, where you start to trust the government, you trust the bank, you trust the newspaper, the media outlet, right?
Yes.
And now I believe that is a time for human to move to the next state, which is more like a decentralized trust, where you actually trust some influencer elsewhere with hundreds of thousands or millions of followers that you don't even know.
Right.
You trust a post on the social network just because it have millions of likes, rather than you trust government, right? So nowadays you probably find fake news, right? And you probably find all kinds of different decentralization idea everywhere. Like it's empower the people, right? People need to see a page with many rather than trusting
Exactly.
let's say
It's all about
Fox
the
or
likes, right?
CNN,
The social proof, right?
right.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like social mining in a way, right?
Yes.
So talking about that though, technologies wise, I do think that there is advantage on both decentralization and centralization. Though I don't believe there is an extreme where you only need decentralization or you only need centralization. I think there will be a fine line somewhere. The only difference is that it's the first time that we truly see a chance to make decentralization a trend. So people will be able to move what should be decentralization to decentralization, right? Things like peer-to-peer lending wasn't able to do that before. Like DeFi wasn't a thing until recently. DID, DeFi, NFT, all of the trend you see today. Cryptocurrency is just one of the use case that we saw after the rise of Bitcoin. But there's a lot more than cryptocurrency on blockchains and decentralization. Right?
That's interesting. And I think that's one of the stumbling blocks in my mind is that when we talk about blockchain and we try to, because of course people are watching or interested in KardiaChain and what you're doing, we kind of understand the mission and values, but when you tell somebody on the street about blockchain, they think, it's about Bitcoin, it's about it's just about that. So how, I guess it's important that the way in which you move forward, the phases that you implement into society is extremely important to have that long-term perspective. So could you tell us more about, I suppose, your timeframes, your plans, let's say, for rolling this out on a mass scale, and how you do that?
Right. So I echo what you say. When you come and not only talk to people on the street, even if you talk to government officials, even if you talk to any business officials, right? What you want to do is to tell them why blockchain technology can help. Right? It's not like we are not trying to invent a solution for a non-existing problem. We're trying to gather the problem and build a solution based on the new technologies. Since we moved back to Vietnam, we have a chance to work with many different business entrepreneurs. We saw that people always have some sort of demand, some sort of problem, and blockchain cannot be the solution for all. We have to very carefully cherry pick the right solution for the right problems. Like supply chain, for example, is one of the very big problem that people face today.
In the pharmaceutical industry, for
Right.
example.
Right.
Yeah.
Even educations, all of the thing we do with the online story of the score examinations,
Certificates, diplomas.
certificate. That's
Yeah,
right. In almost all industry you touch, you will see an opportunity for blockchain to thrive, to advance. But we need to be very careful in examining all of those use cases and choose what is the best fit for our product and our visions, right? Because at the end of the day, we cannot be the one who build everything, right? We only build the foundations, and people will take it from there. So as you can see with our project KardiaChain, right, we have a mainnet coming up, a production mainnet, where we will be we'll be building the infrastructure for all the apps. Then we know that in order to acquiring more user, we need to be able to get more users first, right? So that is why you see the Kai membership is another thing that we're pushing very hard right now.
Okay,
right?
so I think that's a really interesting thing to talk about. So there's lots and lots of use cases, and you can't do everything for everyone, and you can't. So you have to really cherry pick, as you said. You have to cherry pick the right use cases. So, what are the use cases that you are super pumped at the moment that you are implementing, or that you're planning to implement in the near term?
So I think as people follow KardiaChain, you probably know that we have a few use cases that we are very excited about, right? So Mylin partnership was one, Gale Simco partnership was another one, LG CNS, and the telco company, right?
Viettel, right?
Yeah, so we work with a few different telcos company to implement different solutions. So I can tell you that two things that KardiaChain is looking very closely at the moment. One is the DID, decentralized ID.
Yes.
We truly believe that decentralized ID will be a money-making business. A lot of money gonna be made on that business alone, right? Being able to digitalize all of the citizens and identify them through decentralization way, right? Getting rid of all of the 2FA, OTP, SMS thing gonna be huge.
And tell me something about that. To do in the current way with 2FA and all that kind of stuff, that requires a lot of energy and a lot of resources to do that, to manage that system, does it?
That's right. And more importantly, the biggest problem gonna be two things. One is the centralized attestations agent that you have to trust.
Okay.
Second thing is about all of the middlemen that go in the middle, right? So think about the SMS OTP that when they send to you, it doesn't send directly to Viettel or to mobile. It's gonna go through a bunch of different hubs, and people is getting all of the money from there, right? So what we're trying to do is to reduce, to optimize the system, reduce all of the waste, and increase the efficiency.
Wow, that's really exciting. So it's about increasing efficiency, decreasing the waste, as you said. Are there any other projects in terms of the use cases that you'd like to?
More so that from the business side, from the how to put it, from the project side, that is what Viettel or Vinaphone or Mobifone gonna earn, right? Because it reduces their costs in managing the system. From the user, though, it's a big thing too, because you can choose what you share. It's similar to the same way with public-private key works today, right? So you don't have to share everything to a third-party vendors. Let's say if you go to Tiki or you go to Amazon to buy a certain thing, and they want you to verify, your age, right? Your address, let's say your levels of incomes. Today, you pretty much have to give up everything. But with the new ways of decentralization, you can always choose and sign with different private key for different information that you would like to share. And then you don't have to give up all of your private information to the government or to a certain vendors, right? You choose what to give out, you choose what to sell, if you will. Like if you want to sell a certain thing, then you should earn the money from your information, right? So Google, Facebook, or other company can just not collect your data for free.
Absolutely. And I know like KardiaChain has amazing technology to make all of this come true, let's say, and you've made huge progress in the last year alone. I guess the listener, the viewers of watching this would really like to know, I guess, what have you learned from your time at Google and Cisco systems and in creating the technology and building that into, I guess, the use case, the technology side of it with in rolling out your systems?
Yeah, so of course there is a lot that I learned working in Silicon Valley, like Cisco or Google in the past, more than 10 years. Let me tell a quick story. When I first joined Google about 9 years ago, they talk about cloud computing. So all I do was building a distributed cloud system. 10 years ago, cloud wasn't even a known concept to the public yet, right? AWS wasn't very popular at that time, but at Google it has been there for like 5 years. People have been using that on a daily basis without even know the term cloud, until marketing people comes and make it a new trend. Then everywhere you start to hear cloud computing. Similar to blockchain. I was a lead in one of the decentralization project at Google back in 2017, 2018, where at that time cryptocurrency is almost the only thing people knows about blockchain technologies. But we have been using the blockchain technology at that time to do the voting and the how to say, and to pick the most optimized path based on decentralized consensus, right? So it's the same with the current technology that people use to build cryptocurrency. So what I see is we saw a problem, we pick the best solution to solve that problem. If that is a decentralization way, if it's a blockchain technology way, so be it. We pick it, we learn about it, and we build it just to solve for that particular problem, and we roll the product to production, right? So it's the same principle that we apply today at KardiaChain. We come and see, the inefficiency of using 2FA and SMS OTP to make the communication flow, right? So we think of the ID. We pick the right partner that already, roll it out successfully somewhere. We try to apply our technologies. On top of that, we're going to use KardiaChain mainnet to store the ID information. We work with the right partner to bring the attestation agency to come and do the verification, right? So everybody in that picture just own a part of the whole data flow, and that is what we want for a decentralization, right? So the end experience will be as simple as you having a Kai membership app where you already have your QR code with all the information you want to share. Now you go to Tiki or Amazon, right, and you try to buy something. They will ask for certain information. You certify it, you send it. That will be sent rather than send to Vitel or to some other attachments. It's gonna go to KardiaChain and use a private key to match with the public record you saw over there and give back to Tiki. As simple as that. There will be no involvement with the verification by any means, and you can even pick the verifier that you wanna check, right?
That's incredible, and I can really see that like becoming so valuable. And people don't really need to know about the back end technology side, and they're going to be using it anyway, right? That's the plan.
It's cheaper.
And it's cheaper, like you rightly said. It's much cheaper, and you're improving the lives. There's a lot of kids here. It's Christmas is coming. I think she has to wait a bit longer for Santa Claus to arrive. As you can see here, we're sitting in front of the fireplace. We've got the Christmas decorations and a Christmas tree over there. But the Kai membership app is really interesting to a lot of people, and I think the benefits will speak to themselves. I think when people use the platform and get the benefits. I have another question about Vietnam, because I'm based in Vietnam, and it's great seeing Vietnam. As everybody knows, if you haven't been to Vietnam, come to Vietnam, because there's a great vibe here and there's lots of technology here. How do you see Vietnam adopting this technology versus other countries? And can you just talk a bit about the future of Vietnamese society embracing technology, and the new young people coming into the generations, the teenagers, the 20-year-olds? Can you inspire them to look at a career in blockchain or technology or anything like that?
So as you know, I moved from US back to Vietnam from Silicon Valley, one of the places you could say the most advanced, technologies, all the cutting edge technologies over there, developed there, trial there, dog food there, to the rest of the world. And then I come back to Vietnam, where it is one of, it used to be one of the poorest country in the world, right? But it's still considered a developing country, very fast, very, energetic. The vibe here is pretty high, right? So the reason why I moved here is because I see what you just described. We see a younger generation, hundreds of millions. The population of Vietnam right now is more than 100 millions right now, right? And a majority of that is the younger generations who is very eager to adopt new things, right? Exactly. As long as they don't have to understand what blockchain does, right? But as long as you give them an apps, right, and that bring value, that they will use it. That they're very open to adapting new technologies. The government is also very open, right? It's actually the government invitations that bring us on back together to Vietnam, right? They want to bring back the talent from overseas. If you know Vietnam history, we have the civil war going on, and a lot of people left the country. So 2 years ago, the government made the first recall of talent, right? And I was part of that, as some of the friends over here, they just invited you to come back and look how the government has changed, how the country has changed, and they inspire the call from homeland for all of the talent, right? So at KardiaChain, we saw at least a third of our team was coming back from either Europe or US, right? And I was among the first one to make that call, right? You have the support from the government. You have the new generation of people adapting the technologies, and more importantly, you don't have any legacy infrastructure to block the advancement. It's gonna be very hard for Europe or US to just completely change their payment system from Visa card, Mastercard to the new mobile banking. But look at China, people is almost cashless right now, right? And they just use their phone
First mover advantage right here.
Exactly. So Vietnam gonna be the new China in 10 years or 20 years. If you look at China right now, you can see Alibaba, you can see Baidu, you can see Tencent.
Everybody talks about Alibaba here.
Right.
Yeah.
In Vietnam, you didn't see that kind of settlement yet, right? It's still an open battle. It's still an open field. And we want to make sure that KardiaChain is among the first mover in the blockchain technologies. And if in 5 or 10 years, blockchain gonna be big here, you will see everybody talk about KardiaChain. That is our vision.
100%. And with that being said, I think that's a great place to end this interview. Thank you very, very much for joining us for this episode, the special guest interview with Huy Nguyen, co-founder of KardiaChain. Where can people learn more about you, and where would you like to send people in terms of a website or?
Oh yeah, so please check it out at KardiaChain.io. We also have a Telegrams and the Twitter, very active. People can check about all the news and announcement over there. Thank you very much, and I'm honored to be here.
Fantastic. Great to have you. Thank you.